back underway.
Why not multitask?
Exactly. Exactly. That was a nice little spot. I liked it. It was quiet. We had a little bit of breeze. She heard a bunch of noises last night. I didn't hear anything.
It wasn't that quiet. It rose such a clatter, and
I think that was the pump. I think the pump probably fell over for the dinghy.
yeah, well, when you wake up in the middle of the night to a noise clatter on your boat, and you're half asleep, you're half awake, but you're also still dreaming, it's the moves on the boat.
That was the quickest leaving of an anchorage we've ever had. I finally got our fancy washdown pump working, which means that I basically have a hose and sprayer up here at the front of the boat. Before, well, I guess I'll preface this. We live in the Chesapeake. We're cruising on the Chesapeake right now. It's got a very muddy body. There's just mud everywhere. Anytime you put your anchor down in the chain, it sits in the mud. Then when you pull it up, it brings all the mud with it. You don't want that going down in the boat. So now I have, as you can see down there, a hose connection. I got myself a hose and I got a sprayer nozzle. So now as the chain comes up, I just stand here and just do that. Just spray it down. Just clean it off. And it makes life so much easier. Before it was, like I said, move 5 feet of chain and then clean it off with a bucket. Move 5 feet of chain, clean it off with a bucket. Now I just do this as she's pulling the chain up and we're done. I like it. Much better situation. Sorry if it's tough to hear me, but we have the engine on right now. We just left the anchorage. I'm downstairs making some tea and coffee and trying to get everything tucked away. It's a little bit of madness out here. We've got a north wind. Right now we're heading straight east, and the north wind's pretty steep and has developed some pretty big rollers coming down the bay, and we're just now getting into them. And it's a little exciting down here. Got to make sure that you got your balance going on. I wish I could actually show you how much it's rocking all over, but you might be able to tell from everything that's swinging around behind me. So I'm surviving. Kelly checked in to make sure I was still alive. I'm still alive. So we'll be turning south. So we're heading out to get away from our anchorage, and then we're going to turn south to head down to our next destination, which is probably like Norfolk Hampton area. We're not really sure if we're going to just skip on through there or stop there, but I'm ready to turn south. I can say that much. We are flying downwind right now. We had like 8.8 knots a second ago. We were surfing down the waves. We're just heading straight downwind right now. We pulled the head sail out, and it is sped us up 8.2 knots. So we're just, as the waves come underneath us, they surface down the face of it, and then they roll down underneath us, and then we slow down a little bit. We're flying right now. The autopilot's having a little bit of trouble with it. It's kind of wandering all over the place, but I got to make some adjustments to try to fix that, I think. So this is awesome. We are having every bit of a rowdy day, and earlier I had to go up to the bow of the boat because I had to fix something with the furler, and Kelly and I discussed what was going to be going on. She was going to be back here keeping an eye on things, and I basically told her, if things go crazy and you need me, just yell really loud and I'll come back. And I fixed what I had to fix at the bow, and I had to rerun the furling line along the side of the boat. And as I was doing that, all of a sudden she squeals. And I'm like, oh God, something's happened. And it was a dolphin. She yelled dolphin. Perfectly valid reason to squeal, but still she yelled dolphin. And then we were sitting back here. That was probably an hour and a half ago. Now I was just kind of sitting here hanging out. We're still moving along. I mean, it's been wild. I don't know if you can tell what's going on, but it's pretty wild out here. And I'm just sitting here again, and right as things get pretty rowdy and we start to lean over a good bit, she squeals again, and it was because of dolphins again. This time I got to see him. I didn't get to see him the first time, but I did get to see him this time. So she keeps scaring the crap out of me now. But it's okay. It's for good reason. So we're making along. This is about as bad as it's gonna get. It's pretty rowdy. we're heading straight downwind, and we're just like all over the place right now. So waves are probably 4 to 5 feet, and winds right around 20 with gusts up to 25 or so.
Gusts are higher than that.
Yeah, we've had a few gusts. Sometimes, yeah. So, but we're making good time, and we're having fun. We're seeing dolphins. We're hanging out with the wildlife, which is good. So. We're currently sailing through the spot where container ships wait before they can come up to Baltimore Harbor. This is where they drop anchor, and then as space opens up in the harbor for them to be able to go up and offload their cargo, then they'll head out. So right now we counted 14 of them a second ago, and we probably sailed into view for a few more. So there's quite a few of them hanging out down here. It's pretty neat to be this close to them. We're actually going to go between, there's one that's over that way, and that one right over there. And we'll be splitting right between them. We haven't been this close to container ships since we were racing in the harbor.
Rough night.
Every bit of a rough night. Yesterday was pretty taxing for sure. We made it all the way down, going with the wind, rocking and rolling the whole way down, and then we made it to Norfolk Harbor. There was a big container ship on the way in that we had to dodge. Then once we got past that, all of a sudden we started having our friendly engine troubles, of course. That came along, and then we started to hear on the radio.
A military submarine was coming out, and everyone had to make sure that they were at least 500 feet away from it.
500 yards.
Oh, yards.
Yards.
Okay, so 1,500 feet away from it.
Yeah.
Which is kind of hard to guesstimate with your eyeballs.
Every bit.
While your engine keeps stalling, and then sometimes stopping, and sometimes not stopping.
Yeah, fortunately we still had the head sail out, so we were still sailing at that point, which means if the engine did stop, we had control. We were going to be able to keep moving, but it was not an ideal situation. We actually got called by on the radio, we got called by the patrol boat that was escorting the submarine out, and they said, "Hey, Curious George, you guys are in the way. You got to get out of the way." So we had to get out of Dodge pretty quick.
George is like, "Yes, sir, we are currently on that plan."
Yeah. Unfortunately, in the chaos, we weren't able to film the submarine. It was super cool to see an actual submarine on its way out to sea. That was pretty fascinating.
Yeah. Maybe we'll see another one.
Maybe. Yeah, we're about to go out and move around, so we might see one too. But so we did that. Then we ended up basically the engine just kept giving us trouble the whole way into the anchorage. We picked an anchorage that was really, really close to the mouth of the James River, which is kind of where we are, because of the fact that we knew we were having the engine troubles. So we got tucked up into there. It was a little stressful trying to get into there.
The main thing was we needed to get somewhere where we could get anchored, because you just can't drop anchor in 60, 70 feet of water, where there's also submarines coming through, and I don't know, battle destroyers, I don't know what they're called, and cargo ships.
Yeah.
So we got there.
Got out of Dodge.
Just barely.
Just barely. We made it in, got the anchor dropped, and then just kind of sat down to brainstorm and relax for a minute to try to kind of decompress after everything. And so then we made some dinner, I guess.
Yeah, you made dinner.
And watched a movie, and partway through the movie I checked my anchor alarm, and we were dragging anchor. Perfect, right? Great. So set a new anchor.
When you don't, well, you can't set a new anchor.
No, set a new anchor alarm.
Oh, okay. I was like, but the engine was giving us trouble.
So I set a new anchor alarm. Yeah, the engine's giving us trouble, and we're dragging anchor. Not an ideal situation. So set another anchor alarm. We finished our movie. By the end of that, we hadn't moved at all. And Kelly said, maybe it's a good idea to just check the engine situation right now, just in case we drag again.
Hold on.
It was. Helicopter.
Oh no, are they going to practice? We didn't even mention that issue.
Yeah, they're just flying overhead.
Hold on. So, hold on. Alright, so should we mention it now, or should we just mention it at the end of the traffic?
May as well.
So this anchorage is hardly an anchorage. It's just shallow enough you can drop anchor, and you're sort of permitted to be here. But there's military helicopters all over the one side, because it's all restricted, practicing dropping, I think they're called frogmen in the water, and picking them back up again. So they're hovering up and down close to the water, and it's super loud. I think somebody on the internet described this as the hornet's nest, because it sounds like that.
Yeah.
They're adding like 2 more tunnels to a tunnel over here. So there's constant barge traffic and constant tugboats and all sorts of, I don't know, they're like transporting the workers, and it's a 24/7 operation. So we have all of that plus the wind. It's not a calm anchorage, and it's just wild.
Yep. So that brings us back to, I guess this was right about midnight that Kelly's like, hey, maybe we should just look into the engine issue, which was a good idea. So started to kind of troubleshoot, look into it. I figured maybe it was something with a tank. I thought maybe we ran out of fuel. Maybe the gauge isn't right and we ran out of fuel. So first I took the gauge out, checked the actual depth. We had, in a 15-inch tall tank, we had 5 inches of fuel. That means we're not out. That's not quite a third of a gallon, or third of a tank, because of the fact that it's sloped at the bottom. But still, that means that we have fuel. Eliminated that. So then I started to take apart the dip tube.
So our gauge works.
Yep.
You know who you are, who I'm talking to. Our fuel gauge works.
Yeah.
We didn't run out of fuel.
Yeah. So figured that out. So then I put the gauge back in, got all that redone, and then started to look into where the fuel actually gets pulled out of the tank. And I started to take those fittings apart. And I took one of them apart, and there was just this ball of just crap. I don't know what it was. Kind of sandy feeling. It didn't seem like a biofilm or anything like that you usually get with diesel tanks, but it was something, and it was clogging up where the fuel gets pulled out. So went through and cleaned that out, put all that back together. Then we have a little filter that actually separates out if there's ever water in the diesel. It'll separate that out, and it also helps sediment settle to the bottom, and then it's got an actual filter element to filter the fuel before it goes to the engine's filter. So checked that out, and there was a ton of sediment in the bottom of that. Took it all apart, got it all cleaned out, finally got to bed at, I guess, 2 o'clock, I think, and just passed out.
You passed out?
Yeah, passed out.
It's a good thing I was basically awake all night. I decided that I would basically check the anchor alarm, I don't know, every 5 minutes probably.
Yeah.
I don't know, whenever I kept waking up. And then once George had his alarm go off, then I was going to go to sleep.
So
like a baby.
Slept. I checked it a few times throughout the night. We held, and then we started dragging at 8 o'clock in the morning, I think, 8:30 roughly. Dragged again. So we pulled up anchor, came up to where we were originally, dropped the anchor again, and we're just kind of sitting here. We decided, let's go find a marina for the next couple of nights so that we can decompress, do some laundry, get some fuel, just top that off, because we got to go motor quite a bit for the next little leg of the journey. We'll go do that.
So it's kind of good we found out that our engine troubles didn't actually go away the past 2 days. We didn't have any engine struggles for like 2 days. We figured it was just an air bubble or something making its way through the system.
No.
But it wasn't.
No.
But it's really good before we end up in, like, we're just called the middle of nowhere motoring land.
Yeah. So. And the other thing we're going to catch up on is we were supposed to have date night last night, but that didn't work out. 2 o'clock in the morning working on the engine's not date night.
No.
I think we're going to do date night tonight or maybe tomorrow night. We're going to make sure we do something together to get out and enjoy each other's company. So.
We also need to go through and make sure we clean up all of the diesel.
Yeah. It was a messy job.
He did his best, but the diesel still got on surfaces, and at 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, I don't care. We'll come back in. We'll get it later. It was like, what? I'm not going out there to get your funnel that's for oil. You can use this one. We can either clean it really, really well, or we'll just buy a new one the next time we're at the grocery store.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't care.
Just deal.
Yeah. Like, here's a container. I dumped out all my loose tea. Use this. I don't care. Just get it done.
Yep. So that's our excitement for this, for right now. I'm done with excitement for right now. I want just calm, just do something relaxing. But thanks for joining us. Make sure to subscribe so that you can join us on the rest of the journey and keep following along, and we'll see you in the next one.
Yep. Somewhere else and without engine struggles.
Without engine struggles.
See ya.
Knock on wood.